Tonight on CFTK-TV News, the Terrace RCMP made quite the discovery at a homeless camp recently. BC's Premier is introducing a new strategy to try and stop the overdose crisis, and Vancouver police are investigating a murder in Chinatown.
Northwest BC's only television news team. We are CFTK-TV News.
Good evening, I'm Cale Maslin, and here's what's making the news in the Northwest and beyond for today. The Terrace RCMP recently released an article on their website revealing that they made quite the discovery at a homeless encampment not too long ago. On May 31st, the police made their way to a homeless camp located near the area of the 4300 block of Lake Ellis Avenue and found several items that ended up being seized. The items in question included cell phones, weapons like a firearm and an axe, cash, in addition to some suspected drugs. And this seizure came only about a week after another police search at the same location discovered an assortment of drugs and weapons as well. All of the items in police custody have since been submitted for civil forfeiture, and officers are advising people to remain aware of their surroundings when out and about. A cafe located at the Smithers Airport is putting forth a pretty significant application, and they have the town of Smithers itself behind them in this endeavor. The Elevate Cafe, which was recently reopened after being closed down for a while due to airlines suspending air traffic back in 2020, is applying to get a liquor license. Part of the reasoning given for the application is that the airport staff are of the belief that having alcohol available at the airport could lead to better experience for patrons. It would also add another revenue stream for the cafe and reportedly could have other indirect benefits for the airport. Smithers Mayor Gladys Attrell is said to have heard good things about the cafe since it reopened, and the town council gave their support for the application at a recent council meeting. And at that same previously mentioned council meeting, Smithers Town Council also recently made the choice to give approval to YMCA BC, who is based in Prince George, to work as the operator for a future facility of theirs. The facility in question would be a childcare facility. It would be located in Ranger Park, and the reason Smithers is wanting to build it is because they wish to proactively handle their current local childcare issues. As of right now, there is said to be a shortage of about 200 or so childcare spaces in the town of Smithers. A meeting should soon take place to discuss the facility's lease agreement, design development, and the process of applying for a grant. It is a massive and complex problem, BC's toxic drug crisis, which has claimed thousands of lives. The Premier's latest strategy is to focus on a very specific group of people by hiring a scientific advisor to help people struggling with brain injuries, mental illness, and substance use. Penny Daflos explains why the government believes caring for a small number of people could have a big impact.
When someone survives a drug overdose, they'll live another day but often experience permanent brain damage. Add in mental illness and ongoing drug use, and there's a high likelihood they'll be in and out of hospital and jail on a regular basis.
This is a group that our addictions doctors are struggling to support. This is a group of growing importance as the toxic drug crisis goes on and they grow in number.
Possibly thousands in the downtown east side and even more throughout our province.
We need a whole new approach, one based on the best insights our evidence can produce.
Enter Dr. Daniel Vigo. He's been an assistant professor at UBC, has advised the World Health Organization and lectured at Harvard, and also treats patients himself. The Premier has just appointed him to the new position of Chief Scientific Advisor for Psychiatry, Toxic Drugs, and Concurrent Disorders.
One of the first pieces is really to identify the specific population, identify the individuals, and those pathways for support for them.
That may include specialized supportive housing and complex treatment, whether the patient wants it or not.
The important thing is that the interventions are effective, whether they are voluntary or involuntary, and that is what our work will be focused on.
Vigo will consider new guidelines on forced treatment. The Schizophrenia Society is applauding a new approach with a dedicated point person.
In BC, untreated schizophrenia and psychosis creates more social challenges than any other medical condition.
By targeting what the province is calling the clinical triad to proactively help people who might be arrested, hospitalized, or unable to hold on to a home.
To my mind, this is not a controversial initiative. This is just something that needs to be done.
Coming up next, the BC Conservatives' newest member has made a very public and controversial request. Welcome back. Only days after jumping ship to the BC Conservatives, Eleanor Sturco is calling for BC's top doctor to be fired. The MLA's comment, posted on social media, is just one of several that are raising eyebrows. And as CTV's Rob Buffum reports, Sturco is standing by what she said.
Shame on him. Choose another question.
A prolonged standing ovation for the Premier, led in part by opposition MLA Eleanor Sturco, after EB had scolded Conservative leader John Rustad for his criticism of SOGI, sexual orientation, gender identity tools in BC schools. Fast forward 9 months, she's standing next to Rustad, her new boss, having crossed the floor from BC United, and says her views on SOGI have evolved and it needs to be reassessed.
If this is a program that's lost its ability to connect with all families because it's controversial in some way, let's replace it with something that protects rights and helps everybody feel safe at school.
SOGI has been a lightning rod for controversy, sparking protests at schools. When she was with BC United, Sturco signed a letter to the BCTF supporting it.
Very frustrating now for her to kind of back off that position. It's because of right-wing politicians that have kind of made it an issue.
Sturco, who is gay, is also getting backlash from members of the LGBT community. Upset she joined a party with members openly expressing anti-gay views.
Rainbow crosswalks may not be important to our generation, but they are important to the younger generation.
Very concerning and sad to me that we've come to this state where, first of all, there's this whole assumption that if you're a member of the LGBT community, that we're all like-minded, that we can't have these diverse views even within our own community.
Yesterday, she tweeted that Bonnie Henry should be fired, the same view as Rustad's. Sturco has long been a harsh critic of Henry's policies on decrim and safe supply, but never before called for the provincial health officer's job.
I really feel more free to vocalize this.
Her former colleagues call her shifting views opportunism.
The epitome of hypocrisy, frankly. And I think Eleanor is finding now, based on the feedback it appears she's getting, she's got a heck of a lot of explaining to do.
Of course, how the voters feel is what matters most, and in 4 months, they'll get their say. Robert Buffum, CTV News, Victoria.
Now to Squamish, where after days of poor conditions, clearer weather has allowed rescuers to ramp up their search for 3 missing climbers. The mountaineers set out on a highly technical climb and have not been seen since last Friday. Here's CTV's Shannon Patterson on the latest efforts to find them.
A break in the weather has allowed search and rescue crews to begin a full-scale aerial search for 3 mountaineers who set out to climb Atwell Peak on Friday and haven't been heard from since. While search helicopters were finally able to fly after being grounded for more than 4 days because of poor weather, cloud cover prevented them from accessing the top of Atwell Peak, where it's believed the 3 experienced mountaineers were headed on Friday.
We're not able to fly to the peak or near the peak, so we were able to fly around the base of Atwell.
They're searching with a RECO device, which can help locate missing mountain climbers.
In this particular case, it's one that's mounted to the bottom of the helicopter, and it will pick up a signal from deflectors that are sewn into outdoor clothing. It also has the ability to pick up electronic signals.
So far, there's been no sign of the climbers, who searchers describe as experienced and prepared for the difficult trek.
This is not a casual day hike by any stretch. This is an extremely technical mountaineering adventure that these people set out on. It's a highly technical climb that's going to require ropes, crampons, harnesses.
Since the mountaineers disappeared, the conditions on Atwell Peak have been treacherous.
It's wet, it's windy. I think the wind yesterday was around 100 kilometers an hour on the peak. Heavy snowfall, foggy. We weren't able to get high enough to clear the avalanche risk to send in ground personnel. So we're basically still standing by, still waiting for the weather to cooperate.
Family and friends of the missing trio are also waiting. They watched from the search and rescue staging area at Squamish Airport as helicopters came and went. The search will continue until nightfall this evening, and with even better weather in the forecast, crews plan to continue looking for the 3 mountaineers as long as they believe there's a chance of finding them. Shannon Patterson, CTV News, Squamish.
Vancouver police are in the midst of investigating a deadly stabbing that happened near Chinatown. It's the city's 4th total homicide of this year. And as CTV's Abigail Turner reports, witnesses who were near the Dunsmuir Viaduct at the time of the murder will be key to the investigation.
Police tape blocks off a portion of Main and Union Street early Wednesday morning, as investigators are seen looking for any pieces of information into what led to the death of a 32-year-old man.
A bystander or a passerby had observed this man in medical distress and called 911.
When paramedics arrived around 3:30 a.m., they found the victim suffering from stab wounds. They tried to save him, but he died before he could be taken to hospital. Police lay yellow markers trying to figure out what happened in the hours before he was killed.
It would be unhelpful for us to speculate on what may or may not happen, so we'll deal with the facts that we know. And at this point in the investigation, it's very early. There's still much that we don't know, but we're working hard to find those answers.
Officials have identified the victim, but are not sharing the name as they haven't notified next of kin. Police could not say if a weapon had been recovered or if the attack was random.
At this early stage of the investigation, we're limited in the information that we have. We're also limited in the information that we're prepared to share.
While the details are thin, what we do know is that no arrests have been made. And with the suspect or suspects still on the loose, officials are asking anyone with dash cam footage or video surveillance to come forward. Abigail Turner, CTV News, Vancouver.
Turning to tonight's weather, the north coast will likely be host to a few clouds at a low at 6 degrees. The Terrace-Kitimat area is expected to see a few clouds of its own with their low at 7 degrees. And the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District will instead deal with clear skies and their low dropping down to -2 degrees. On the north coast, the week for them will start with some sun, but then become cloudy and rainy as the high shifts between 15 and 18 degrees. In the Terrace-Kitimat area, their upcoming week will also get a bit of sun before transitioning to rainy conditions, and the high will bounce from 26 to 16 degrees. And in the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District, the next week or so will be back and forth between sunny conditions and clouds and rain, while the high moves from 23 to 18 degrees. Checking out the highways now, visit Drive BC for the latest and up-to-date conditions, and as always, drive safe out there. On Highway 16, there is utility work, bridge maintenance, road sweeping, construction work, roadside brushing, and geotechnical investigation, paving operations, and a couple special events. Highway 118 has some bridge maintenance. Highway 37 has some road sweeping, roadside brushing, and frost heaves. Some more road maintenance work on the Nishka Highway. And the Telegraph Creek Road has muddy sections and frost heaves. And this is what the roads were looking like this afternoon around the region from the view of the province's highway cams. Still to come is an unfortunate story of a family and their attempts to prevent others from suffering their daughter's fate. Welcome back. A grieving family is looking for answers in the wake of losing their teenage daughter to suicide. They say despite plenty of warnings, she wasn't properly supported by the Surrey School District and Fraser Health. Now they are sharing Felicity's story, hoping that it will save lives. Here's CTV's Isabella Zavarisi.
Felicity Donovan was a gentle, kind person who loved her younger sister. Following in her mom's footsteps, the 16-year-old was learning how to tattoo, work that now has different meaning to her mother.
Tattooing memorials, yeah, it's quite a healing process, but I never dreamed that I'd see the day where I was tattooing memorials of my own daughter.
Felicity died by suicide in December. Her father says she was struggling with depression.
On the day she passed, she had posted she wished more people liked her.
The Donovans say they did everything they could think of to help Felicity, including a Fraser Health program called Start for Youth in Crisis. Felicity would meet with a counselor once a week, but 2 days before she died, her weekly appointment was canceled because the counselor was sick.
In that 2 days later, Felicity never made it to her next appointment.
Fraser Health says if an appointment is canceled, a clinician will connect with the client or family. The Donovans say nobody called.
We were taking care of things at home. We were taking care of things with outside counseling, but there was just this void at school.
The parents say they're sharing their daughter's story in the hopes it will save lives. The Donovans say a teacher warned them their daughter was struggling and a school counselor was assigned. But after that, they say they didn't hear much else.
I think there's a need for students to be equipped to handle these things just as they're equipped to handle a fire drill and know what to do.
CTV News asked for an interview with the Surrey School District, but they tell us they can't say much due to privacy laws, and adds its counselors follow suicide prevention protocols closely.
Why is it so difficult to talk about it? Well, because of stigmatizing language.
I'm really inspired by her willingness to be Felicity's voice.
That voice, one her family hopes will still be heard through important changes they say are needed in the school system. Isabella Zavarisi, CTV News, South Surrey.
Negotiations between University of Victoria officials and students at a pro-Palestinian encampment on campus have come to a halt. UVic is accusing demonstrators of being unwilling to work towards a resolution, but protesters say that isn't true. CTV's Anna McMillan reports further.
Palestine will live forever!
Protesters with the Palestine Solidarity encampment at UVic crashed the campus Starbucks twice over the weekend, a tactic university administration says it will not tolerate.
They've torpedoed the momentum of these talks.
That conflict resolution expert is wondering why protesters did this in the midst of negotiations with university officials.
It almost seemed like shooting yourself in the foot.
Protesters say talks soured at the end of a meeting on Friday. We were feeling frustrated. One of their demands is to keep police off campus. They say during Friday's meeting, administrators agreed to explore ways to do that.
And when we said that we would not decamp based on purely that commitment to that conversation, they revoked that commitment and said that they misunderstood our entire terms of negotiation.
Audrey Yap observed last week's meetings and is one of several faculty members supporting the students.
They know what they're talking about. And they know what they're asking.
Administrators say they left Friday's meeting feeling cautiously optimistic, but since then claim the actions of protesters have demonstrated an unwillingness to work toward a peaceful resolution. UVic says it won't continue talks unless protesters confirm in writing they'll refrain from, quote, all acts of vandalism, intimidation, and harassment.
We're not planning on responding in the immediate future,
leaving protesters and administrators in a stalemate. Anna McMillan, CTV News, UVic.
The iconic White Rock Pier, which had to be rebuilt after parts of it sank during a windstorm in late 2018, is now in need of a major seismic upgrade, and the city has launched a rather unusual way to gain funds in order to pay for it. CTV's Shannon Patterson reports.
The iconic White Rock Pier is a huge draw for both locals and tourists.
We're here visiting. We're going actually on an Alaskan cruise.
No, I think it's the #1 tourist site in the White Rock area.
Originally opened back in 1914, the pier suffered extensive damage during a vicious windstorm in December 2018. Parts of the wooden boardwalk ended up in the ocean. It took 8 months and cost $4 million to reopen this pier after that devastating windstorm, and it will cost a whole lot more than that to make it seismically sound. Unable to secure funding from the provincial or federal governments and reluctant to hit up White Rock taxpayers, the city has installed this digital donation box on the pier, giving users the opportunity to donate money towards the $15 million seismic upgrades.
It's not something that is a need to have item. It's not a core service for the community. And so that's the kind of situation where it may make sense for the city to explore other kinds of funding opportunities.
Pier users we talked to were surprised by the donation box, but not opposed.
Something like this needs a lot of maintenance, so I think it's good to get some money off people that use it.
A lot of visitors come here, and it's a lot for the community of White Rock to bear. So yeah, I think it's a good idea.
If they want to come here and they want to donate, that's great. If they don't, it's free for everybody.
Would you be tapping your credit card to donate if it's not something you have to do?
I don't mind, like, if you want to donate, like, it's up to you. These are your feelings. Like, if you want to donate, like, I want this place to be preserved, so I would like to tap it.
But for many pier visitors, a voluntary donation is a tough sell.
I wish them luck.
Will you be tapping?
No.
The city may have more success with corporate sponsors.
I don't think we're quite at the point where we will see a Rogers White Rock Pier, but there may be other ways in which those gifts can be recognized and for there to be some kind of commemoration without it becoming just yet another corporate sponsorship opportunity.
For now, it's just a donation box to tap or walk on by. Shannon Patterson, CTV News, White Rock.
And now we turn our attention to the stock markets. The Canadian dollar is up 6/100ths of a cent. The price of gold is up $15.40. Oil is up $1.40. Natural gas is up 6 cents. Aluminum is down $21.50. In Toronto, the TSX is up 84.08 points. The Venture Index is up 2.12 points. In New York, the Dow Jones is up 78.84 and Nasdaq is down 14.78. Still ahead, a toddler suffered a rather unusual type of animal attack. Welcome back. At Fossil Room Park in Texas, visitors in cars are allowed to interact and even feed exotic animals that roam free. It's a pretty fun idea that turned frightening when a hungry giraffe suddenly picked up a toddler who was riding in the back of her parents' truck. CNN's Isabella Quintanilla reports.
2-year-old Paisley Toten was riding in the back of a pickup truck with her mom feeding all of the animals when one giraffe accidentally grabbed her shirt and lifted Paisley into the air. Jason Toten recalled the moment the giraffe picked up his daughter, which was caught on video by a car behind them.
We stopped to feed the giraffes and I turned around to look out the back window and I saw the giraffe kind of digging around right there and then it just grabbed her and I didn't see her no more.
According to Toten, it was a complete accident.
Paisley was holding the bag like this. And the giraffe went to get the bag, not get her, but ended up getting her shirt too and picking her up.
But thankfully, she didn't get too high up before the giraffe dropped her.
As soon as she went up, her mom just yelled, "Hey," like, "Hey," and the giraffe just kind of let go.
Oh, look. Oh. When she fell, her mom was right there to catch her, so no one was hurt, but it was still a scary moment for everyone.
My heart stopped, my stomach dropped. It scared me.
Got your shirt. Yeah, was it scary? Afterwards, Toten said they went to the gift shop and Paisley got a toy giraffe.
We got it, yeah. Figured she deserved it.
A new report from Women's Shelters Canada assessed how Bell, Rogers, and TELUS responded to people escaping domestic violence who required a new phone number or to leave a shared phone plan. The report said there were issues with access, inconsistency, and cost, and that those companies usually needed survivors to involve their abusers in separating from shared plans. It listed several recommendations for the companies, including employees undergoing training on how to adequately respond to victims. All three companies acknowledged those issues and were quoted in the report stating that they're reviewing better processes to better support survivors of intimate partner violence. That's all of our news for now. From everyone at CFTK-TV News, I'm Kale Maslin. Thanks for watching.